Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Here we are,
Man, I love this time.
ready for another episode of Real Life Positivity.
Episode 23.
I know.
Can't help but think of Michael Jordan.
Ooh, yeah, that's
I
good.
know. 23 is such a good number.
Yeah, it was a good number.
So thanks for hanging in there with us. This is such a important time and we're super delighted to be here with you. So thank you for investing
Absolutely.
in this work and all the good things.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, Amy Johnson?
Well, today we are talking about the power of I AMs. It's kind of surprising to me that we haven't already talked about this specifically up until this point.
It's crazy. We have referenced self-talk
Sure.
throughout our episodes, but to specifically unpack it
Yeah.
is super exciting.
I know. Especially because of the time we're at exactly right now with
Mhm.
a school year just wrapping up.
Yeah.
Heading into summer. This is kind of a lighthearted conversation, but actually really poignant because what made us think to do it is something maybe that we've been observing.
Yeah. So the why here is, well, first of all, the power of I AMs is huge.
Yeah.
It's so important. It matters so much. And yeah, definitely over the last couple of years, I think we have both observed and noticed a typical response for, hey, how you doing today? Is I am tired. Tired is the number one response amongst humans that I encounter.
I think before the last couple of years, it was I am fine, and fine was my F word.
Yeah,
we all know
me
that.
too.
I don't like that word. I think it's
even just so you know, even when I try to use it like casually, especially my daughter, she's like, Mom, that's not a good word.
It's not a good
word.
It's
I know. Okay.
Yeah. Tired kind of replaced it though. And I think we saw it coming even a year or more ago with the adults that we were asking.
Yes.
But the shocking thing about it
is
how many kids use it right now.
Kids are using it.
And they use it in context, like very well.
Shocking and honestly very disheartening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been tough. I mean, we've always said, hey, kids are watching, they're paying attention.
Yeah.
We are modeling this life to them.
Yeah.
And so to see a smaller child, and I mean, we can reference teenagers say it commonly. But we're talking elementary kids.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm
littles,
exhausted. I'm exhausted.
We usually will say like there's a difference, kind of a switch that happens at about fourth grade.
Yeah.
Where, kids will start being really self-aware of what do my peers think of me and kind of trying to be cool and all those things start to show up. But we're talking littles.
Yeah.
It's weird to have a sweet, playful first grader when you pause and say, how are you doing? And they say, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah. Like that's
you
it.
didn't look tired.
Like
you weren't acting tired. Wow.
Uh-huh.
So why does that word come up for you? And so we can, there's actually some really funny examples we've had of this, but it's also something that's caught our attention. Like, okay, could we have a conversation around the power of I AMs and what it does to us intrapersonally, psychologically, to keep reiterating that, focusing on that. At the same time, how do we validate that and address that if that's really how we're doing?
I think that is such a good point because we're kind of being light about it and joking about it, but this is 100%, just to remind you, is a judgment-free zone. So the idea is that we're paying attention to humans that we love, or even if we're just meeting, we still love them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just who we are, but we're really wanting to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's been no doubt I've felt an extra level of fatigue.
Yeah.
But I have practices in place that if somebody asks me how I'm doing, not even to be not authentic, but I might feel fatigued, but I know me and I guarantee I have other things too.
I think that's huge. I think as you so often take the lead on the sharing the portion of I am content that we do in workshops, I think it's been so interesting to observe the faces of people as you have given them an invitation to be more than one thing.
Yeah.
it's like, well, we're always more than one thing, but no one's ever really said that to me
Yeah.
before. People have said that out
I
loud.
really
Like, I
love that.
haven't thought about the fact that I can be more than one thing. And if I am tired, can I also be curious? Hold on, that
Absolutely.
changes
That's huge.
everything.
So the why here today, as you're joining us, is that hopefully we can provide some good content to you and help you understand two things. One, how are you talking to yourself? And two, how are you representing yourself?
Yeah, to others.
To others. And
Yeah.
what are you putting out there? So
Yeah.
I think it's been interesting too, the shift in the development, maybe for me personally, how I have communicated in our trainings about positive I AMs, because my original intention was the self-talk, like what's going on inside my mind. But as now I teach it and I'm aware of it and I practice it so much, I just do observe such a quick, how are you? I am within that self-destruction, whether it's just saying you're tired or all the hard, what that does to the people around you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so much more than just what's happening inside your mind. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting for me as a practitioner, how that's evolved.
Yeah.
And
to look
how-
at the cultural
Sure.
implication.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, if you start your morning and you're grouchy with the people around you, it takes a crazy amount of resilience for people to stay positive around somebody who's grouchy.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not everyone's own individual responsibility and it's not possible. It just, that's contagious. I remember
Yes.
we were in a classroom for the first time with some peer models, and I this year, and I don't even know, it wasn't a normal part of what we do, but I said, like, what do you think of when you think of contagious?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, it was really hard for them to think of anything positive at first. Everybody was talking about, because naturally
We've
talking
had a
about
hard-
global pandemic, right?
Sure.
So everyone's talking about the things that, you know, are bad. And then I remember one young man saying, like, well, but something good could be contagious too, right? Like if you smiled at somebody,
Like,
and it
yes.
started a whole different conversation, you know? So that, I love your observation there. And I do think that that has evolved to realize the impact of those ripples.
Yeah. And I love what you said too, the importance of the duality there. So understanding yourself, taking care of yourself, but just know that we have quick opportunities when we engage with other humans, that those conversations matter.
Yeah.
And that communication matters, and how you're treating yourself matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big.
It is kind of big. I was just thinking like of
Kind of just washing over me actually, like how big this topic is.
how many, I mean, I just kind of had like a little bit of a slideshow in my mind of how many different examples I can think of specifically of witnessing, and I do it too, but I witness you say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What else are you? Like as a quick question.
Yeah.
So when you say, how are you?
I
And
can
somebody
do that
says,
easier with kids. It
somebody,
feels pretty patronizing to another adult though.
oh, but I've heard you do it to other adults and it's worked.
Well, I'm very brave.
Yeah, you are pretty brave. So to set the scenario up, like, how are you? And then having this really dynamic, I mean, we hang out with pretty dynamic, vibrant leaders. So to have a person say back to you, tired, and it catches you almost off guard, and you'll be like, oh gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. So I love that validation.
Yeah, I do try to definitely validate. I've learned.
And then you're
lot
like,
about
what
that.
else are you? And it just baffles people, you know, it's just like,
I guess I do that, don't I?
You do that. It's a good thing. And then to have people be like, I don't know, you know, and then I think to soften it as a friend, a lot of times I'll hear you say a follow-up question like, well, what else do you have going on? And then, you know, it's crazy that people will then tell you fantastic things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they started with that, I'm tired. And is that because they're tired? Is that because it's socially normal to say it?
Yeah.
Is
Does that just become a cultural thing?
Is that a thing? Or is that like, because then when they start telling you, like, I can recall somebody was talking to you about running and they had just like hit their PR and they were like, so like enlivened by telling you.
Yeah.
And those are such polar different answers.
I'm wondering if people feel like you can connect quick with that
Yeah.
that commonality of fatigue,
Yeah.
like that's just become so common that we're all just tired. So is that a human's natural instinct to just want to connect
Yeah.
or just go with the hard?
Yeah.
Because we say what you say after I am is true for you.
Yeah.
And so when you're being super intentional with knowing that, I can't help but just think, if you're saying you're tired, what are you going to be all day?
Right.
Like, that doesn't sound like very much fun.
Yeah. So we talk about the power of I AMs. I mean, before, 5 years ago, it was kind of a thing for kids to say, I am trash. I don't even understand where that came from, but it just, both of us, it was like nails on a chalkboard.
That just makes my heart hurt.
And I can remember one kid saying, like, if you are what you say after I am, then, and he just paused.
I think remember trying to have one kid explain and justify trash. Like, he literally tried to justify how important trash was. Yeah. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just come up with a different word then?
Yeah.
If you're spending that much energy on reframing trash, why would you just say I'm amazing?
So when I think we've talked over time, like I remember one of the episodes we talked about mirror messages or doing the mirror challenge and looking in the mirror and truly having a conversation with yourself. I am this. I'm humbly grateful for this. I am this because I know I matter. I know I'm going to go out into the world and do these things. And I want that to be solid and intentional. But that practice is a practice a lot of people say is just too much for them. And it gets poked fun at, it's like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Right. So if I'm just walking around and I'm like, I am fantastic and everybody likes me, and I am the best person on the planet, that is not authentic, and it's not going to ring true.
Right.
Maybe I have never said this to you before, so maybe this is ridiculous, but maybe I am tired is also not super authentic, and we don't have to worry about it being as true.
I'm just wondering if it's a quick bypass to the small talk.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the thing is, why I would question my own question there is we're seeing how fatigued groups of people are.
Definitely fatigued.
It's affecting retention. It's affecting problem solving. It's affecting positive culture in general, the ability to have positive culture in general.
So more stress.
Yeah.
More noise, just more stuff creates that stress, triggers fatigue, or enables fatigue.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah. I mean, and kind of that going back to that chronic unpredictability.
Right. So we have
chronic
unpredictability. And then I feel personally, we get in a flow where it feels like we're good. And then I turn on the news or I hear, there's major stuff happening in the world. So that's just stressful. And so my concern with that is that stress in itself breeds illness. And so, I worry about people so much. And so I think that's what me personally contributes to my passion for sharing these messages.
Yeah.
I'm doing this work with you because I do love people, and I know you do too, so much and genuinely.
Yeah.
That when someone does look at me and I say, hey, how are you? And they're like, I'm so tired. I want to put them in my pocket. I want to hug them. I want to love them. But I want to see them. I truly do. Yeah. And then keep this conversation flowing. But so I think let's just unpack what is self-talk as maybe kind of those two things we kind of want to look at today. What is a self-talk and what are some practices there? And then how does that translate out into how we communicate with others? Yeah. So I think if we want to maybe just kind of define some of that. Yeah. As I'm sitting here, I'm bleeding my heart, I love people.
Well, I think it is the reason we want to have conversations. Right. So I think self-talk just being the conversation you're having inside of your head.
Right. What's going on in there? How are you treating yourself?
So many thoughts every day. I was just talking to Kristen yesterday about how we get Kristen, my youngest daughter. But how we get 70,000 thoughts a day, and she agreed with us that she thinks she probably gets way more than that.
I totally get more than 70,000 thoughts.
So but neuroscience has come so far in understanding how the brain works. and I know there's so much more potential for us to understand even more, but how the brain lights up when we are exposed to or think about certain things, and how those pathways grow. And I mean, it's the impetus for growth mindset. This is not a fixed thing in here.
Yeah.
And it's not something that has to, once your self-talk is established, it's always going to be that way. It's constantly growing
Totally.
and changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of strategies, I mean, I know you have some great ones that you share. Like there are really solid strategies that help us grow neural pathways in our brains so that our brains are quicker to respond in certain ways than others. And if we practice the same thing over and over again, our brains just get faster, more efficient at that thing.
I love that. And it's honestly, it's something I do practice, but even just talking about it and giving it attention is exciting for me to practice it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because you get going with life. It's just like any practice. Like if you're an artist and you're painting a lot, then you get really good at it.
Yeah.
And then life happens and maybe you can't pick up that brush. And so
sure,
the next time you go to paint, you feel a little rusty.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the same thing with self-talk, or whether you're an athlete or a musician or it's your work or whatever. I think any practice is relatable, but the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that you come to some place and then you're a master and you quit doing it. Most masters at something come to love it, appreciate it, do it on a regular basis to keep that fine tuning there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it will atrophy. And so like, I think it's interesting with, I have noticed a lot of times, I think you and I have to address that it's not a box to check. We didn't just teach social and emotional learning skills. Check. You know, it's a practice. And so I have likened it to, I know, like Tiger Woods. I probably need to like update but I'm like,
Good.
you think that, you know, Tiger Woods just quits golfing after he gets his green jacket? Like, no, that's not how that works.
Actually, such a good
And so then,
example. He's had, and that was something that's like ping ponging in my mind. It's my new visual lately, just like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Just like those thoughts are going.
Yeah.
But like, he's a great example of, he has a lot of hard.
Yeah.
He has like there's some physical elements and wrecks and hardships within his own personal life and all the things. And so that was something I was going to ask is, okay, so this sounds great. I'm going to talk nice to myself. That's awesome. I can totally do that. I could practice it in the car. I could, while I'm making dinner, while I'm hanging out with friends, and just like being nice in there. Well, no. And then I turn on the radio and then I hear something that's really hard, or I jump on social and I read something that's jarring, or like life. Those are some silly minor examples,
no, that's
but
good.
Or you know, there's so many things I could unpack that could happen, which we know, right? But what do we do in those moments?
Yeah.
So I think that's why this is so important, is when you have those pathways in motion and in practice, they're just naturally going to keep happening when life gets hard. Yes.
Yes, they become an option. They're not an option if they're not developed at all.
Right. So that's why we are passionate about being proactive. So you want to be doing these practices on a daily so that no matter what's coming at you, and however you're having to be resilient, you have those practices.
So when you say these practices, I think sometimes what I hear from people is like, that's overwhelming. I don't know where to start. There's so many different ways to do that.
Right.
I tried journaling. I tried meditation. I tried
let's talk
positive
about that.
all the
what are
things.
some things we could do?
Well, I was going to say, like, interestingly, we asked people to come up with 10 words about themselves. And the number of people who struggle to come up with 10 words.
10 words that you would, so what we're asking, I want to clarify, because someone's mind might be thinking, well, I'm stupid, or I'm this. I mean, automatically, we know if we get 70,000 thoughts, 70% of those can be negative. So it's going to be natural for you listening, for you already, if you're already processing and thinking about words, that you might think of words that are hard.
Yeah.
So the hope is that you're going to come up with 10 words that you're proud of about yourself.
Yeah. That are enriching.
That are, how can you notice the goodness in yourself?
So you might, so I mean, even just like the practice of that, like you say,
Yeah.
doing it in the car, doing it in the shower, doing it when you brush your teeth. I do my 1 minute mirror message time in when I'm brushing my teeth because I do it every day.
Yeah.
Like I need that like kind of trigger. I think that, you know, sometimes when we're first starting something or if somebody's like, I really do need to catch my self-talk right now. I have been talking really bad to myself. Giving yourself a time of day to do it or something that can help you remember to do it. Otherwise it kind of gets lost in the,
I'm cracking up because that even sounds good sometimes, but I recently, school's out. So I've got two amazing teenagers. It's interesting how they will try to talk to me while I'm brushing my teeth.
Oh,
I'm like, I can't hear you.
Give me a second.
Just give me just a second.
I'm not going to do the dentist 2 minutes. I'm going to only do 1 minute this morning. Please just give me 1 minute.
So you just do what you can.
It's true. Well, I think that's what I was going to say though, wherever you can do
And
it.
I love their questions. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. But it's like even sometimes finding that minute in a day without being pulled.
So I want to say in that minute or in that practice, just coming up with words, I think that's huge. But I also want to say, to your point, if you don't value the power that having positive I AMs is going to have in your life, there will always be something to infringe upon that minute.
And I kind of feel like I'm channeling people listening.
I know
because
I know you find time and fit it in practice to be proactive there, but it is really important. And I think one thing you and I have uncovered is that importance of people understanding the value of these skills.
Value in the choice.
Yeah, because I think here's the thing, if it's a good idea to talk nice to myself, which I'm going to just say it is
100%,
right? Because why would you talk mean to anyone? I mean, why is that an advantage?
Yeah, you want to treat yourself like you would treat others.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't yell at a child.
Yep.
Or if they like messed up on something, you wouldn't yell at them.
Yeah.
So we would hope that you would treat yourself the same way.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that you don't hold yourself accountable.
Sure. And have your person of excellence, high expectations.
Yeah.
100%.
But you're kind. That's kind of radical to think I'm going to be kind to myself. But okay, so let's say it's a good idea. But let's say that I haven't really done the math. I know it's not really math. Haven't really done the math on what it costs me when I'm not kind to myself.
Whoa, it's a good point.
Then it's like, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that at a different phase in my life. Right now it's too busy. Right now it's the school year. Wait, right now it's summertime. Right now it's the fall and things are just kicking up. Wait, now it's the holidays and we're really, really busy. There's always a reason to put that off if you don't understand the value of it.
It's life. Yeah.
So I think the value of it is really important because I think with the value, we can be more efficient and more empathetic and all the things work better. Hopefully that's not, I think that just makes sense in and of itself. We don't have to totally validate that because it just makes sense.
I love the efficiency there because then that affords us opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, because, okay, so let's say you're, I don't know, I'm going to think of a better example than what's popping in my head, but I was just going to say, let's say you're faced with something really hard. That's just hard right now. I think because of the nature of us talking about, I am tired. It's like, I don't want to poke on anyone's hard.
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, I think we all have hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What came to mind, I can't think of something different that fits better, but, so I witnessed a really bad car wreck, it was a car and a guy on a bicycle. And I feel like I was kind of supernatural in handling that hard because those of you who know me well might know that I faint around too much blood and I didn't faint. So right there, it's a win. I was pretty supernatural in helping that guy. And when it was all said and done, I knew that kind of my brain took over. It was harder than I could handle. It was scarier. And it was just, I really do pass out if I see too much blood. It was more than I had the capacity for.
But you went into kind of a supernatural, calm and stoic and supportive.
So much so. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
it was like adrenaline. I get that. Like I was in shock. I get it. But my brain, the part of my brain that looks in the mirror in the morning when I'm doing my 1 minute and I say, I am strong, I am capable, I am resilient, I am joyful, I am faith-filled, I am a person who likes ease, I am a person who's supported. I say those things not to bolster myself up so that I think I'm the best person on the
Or
planet.
better than everybody.
It's not, that doesn't even enter into any part of it.
Yeah.
It's that I want to be capable and a resource. And I believe very much in supporting the people I love, the people around me.
What a
So I
catchy word
think,
of that.
I think yeah,
man
in
that
that
day.
moment when it was hard, if I hadn't done all that work,
Sure.
would I have wondered, am I weak because I faint? Am I, do I matter here? Am I capable of this? Would I have doubted myself if it was really hard and I hadn't fortified that part of my brain? And that's a curiosity. Wasn't planning on, I don't even know for sure.
No, but I really like that. I think we should talk about that for a second. So let's say you have something that's super hard for you, whether it's you're dyslexic, ADHD, or I mean, there's something in your brain that makes you different, which I celebrate. So I think coming up with dialogue for that is important too.
Yeah.
And finding things within that make you feel like a rock star or super.
So in what you're saying there, so maybe it's internal or maybe it's circumstantial, external.
Well, like you just said though, like I know that something happens to me when I see too much blood. I mean, that
makes me so mad.
That's frustrating, right?
Frustrates
so if something, I put like specific diagnoses out there, or just something general
that you feel is a challenge or hard.
Right. So you could just say, give yourself a mantra within that, but you have practiced it.
Yeah.
So coming up with something. So dear friend of ours and someone we love so much, Kelly Lee, said it this way: negative self-talk can just be like, if you're, driving down the road, I'm adding some visuals and some emotions. I know if you can't see me, I'm pretending to drive down the road. I'm listening to some music. It's a great song. It's my favorite song. I'm jamming out. Yeah. So that would be like positive self-talk. You're feeling good, right? Okay. All right. Then a really bad song comes on and you don't like. Yeah. I don't know what that would be for me. Probably like some major heavy, like thrash or something I just maybe wasn't in the mood for. So that would just feel like not right for me in the moment. So that would be an example of negative self-talk. And what do? I change the channel. I get back to something that makes me feel good. Yeah. So I think that's what we're saying here is find a mantra, find language, notice the goodness in yourself.
So I think the important thing about the self-talk in the brain there is that those negative thoughts are designed to keep us safe and healthy. And so I think that it's really interesting if you have a really adverse reaction to a song that comes on the radio and you're like, well, my day is shot now. That is disproportionate because that was a negative thought that's really not trying to keep you healthy or safe.
That song.
And societally, we have a lot more of that now. We have a lot of stimuli that makes us feel bad. That's not necessarily a threat in and of itself, that we can change the channel on. So I think one thing you hit on there that makes it a little tricky is we want to validate when we don't feel good.
Well, that's very true. That's something I didn't say. Like, so how in that silly example I gave, like, okay, I hear you song. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. So, but I think back to, I am tired.
And just a disclaimer, that's something I'm working on because I'm such a quick reframer that I don't always pause enough because I just don't like hard. I don't like conflict. I don't want any of that. So my brain will not always go to the validation. Yeah. I'm better at that with other people, but not necessarily.
I was going to say, I say you're really good at that with other people.
Not actually for myself.
I think real life positivity comes out of that.
Yeah.
Wanting to say, okay, this is real life. We see you, we hear you. This is real. But these positive strategies can help you have more choice. And you mentioned that speaking to that choice is a choice.
Yes. I think that's really important.
Yeah. It's really big.
Everything we do is choices. And if it's not a choice for you, that's something maybe we'd encourage you and invite you to seek some support in that if your brain won't allow you to choose in those moments. So good awareness there.
We have
people in your
we
life.
actually have resources on our website on the resource page for that.
Because that's very real.
To speak to that. Yeah.
And I think that's on the rise, some, mental health concerns. And so we're all about mental wellness and wanting to make sure that we're taking care of our minds.
Yeah.
So we really kind of unpacked a lot of the internal dialogue and the self-talk and some practices. So hopefully there's something in there that is a good takeaway for you. Yeah. If 10 words is overwhelming, we would invite you to come up with 1 or 2.
Yeah. And if it's overwhelming to come up with words and you, here's a few like little themes that we have heard and that we share. One, that people will say, I just don't want to be bragging,
Yeah.
And we always kind of joke. We say, we're not going to make you take a billboard out and put it up that tells everybody in the community how great you are.
And if you want to do that, that's great.
But that's fine too. It's great. But so this is more about being humbly grateful for who you are. If you're not sure what those words are for you, or if they're true, one thing I would say is that it doesn't have to be 100% to be true. So I know I'm kind, but there are moments where I am not. And that's maybe justifiable, probably not. I'm imperfect because I'm human, and that's how that goes. So I would say I am kind.
I really love that.
There's somebody who could say, hold on, you don't know what she said to me.
I know.
And I could say, well, I've probably already apologized for that. But if I haven't, let's talk about it again. If not, I have to accept the fact that 100% kind is not what I said I am. I said I'm kind as a general way of being. I am kind. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then, so what we always tell people, if they're struggling to come up with those words, who loves you the most? What would they say about you? And it's such a gift in that moment. If you have people in your life that you want to share this with, like just thinking about if you have your kids or coworkers or whatever, it's just as a gift to yourself, watch their face when they start to kind of process that. Who loves me most? And what would they say about me? And there's usually a little light in the eye, like, well, they'd probably say I am this or that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sweet. And then if you need another strategy, what are you good at? And what makes you good at it? So a lot of times kids will say like, I am a good soccer player. Okay, that's the thing you are, but what makes you good at that?
Yeah, you wouldn't say I am soccer. You would say I'm fast or competitive, or I'm a leader.
Yeah, dedicated,
driven.
Yeah, all motivated. The things. So yeah, so those strategies, however basic, and if you've already done it before, if you've done it in a different part of your life, maybe a few years ago, or you did it for something for work or whatever, and you haven't done it recently, I find it in there. You can't overdo that.
Come back to it.
It's quick and fortify that database.
Intentionality, choosing.
Yeah.
And then, so really our call to action today is to just invite you to practice this. Just try it, come up with some words. And so again, the 2 things, if you remember, was, are you kind to yourself in your mind? Yeah. And then what are you saying out loud? Yeah. What words are true? And catch it. Like I say it all the time in my trainings. If you say, I might have a little history of being late, but what I realize is I'm saying I am late. I'm that girl that's always later. Boy, I can never remember names. I don't know why I have that weird accent, but if you say those things repeatedly out loud, they're going to be true for you. Yeah. I mean, what you say after I am is true for you. So gosh, the call to action today is to practice this, and please, please, please take care of yourself and try to get some good rest and know what you need, get good people around you. Let us know how we can support you. We love this work, and we do love humans, and we feel fatigued too.
Yeah. And there's needed to be extra strategy around that. Sure. Honestly. I mean, I blocked sleep on my calendar differently in the last year and a half than I had before.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I would insist, not sweet, probably thing to say, but I'd always say I can sleep when I die. I mean, I did not need a lot of sleep. I didn't want a lot of sleep. I had stuff to do.
I've said that before too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, some of that is just life changes, but I could feel the fatigue. I know on an earlier episode, we talked about how resilience, just I'm good at it, but it drains me.
Sure.
And there's taken a lot of resilience in the last 2 years. And so I know myself, there's no part of me that wants to be like, quit saying you're tired, people. That's not what I mean at all.
That's not why.
I'm just really aware that those words impact who we are, who we become.
So if you feel tired, pay attention to that. Get some rest if you can. If you can't, just know that, that's something hopefully you can do in the future.
Yeah, I think if you can't, again, that's a really good awareness. And then just being open. I need to find a way. I need to rest is essential. Yeah. I need to find a way.
So again, we want to validate you if that's how you feel every day, all the time. But we would also encourage you to consider, what else are you?
Yeah.
What else are you today, friends?
Well, I am grateful. That's that's a big word for me today.
I feel that too.
Yeah.
I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that the level of fatigue will go maybe from here to, just kind of start getting a little lower in that stress level. I also think during this time, an invitation for self-care has been on the rise too.
Yeah.
So I feel like people have more resources, maybe more than ever. So there's a contrast to that fatigue too. And even having this conversation, just taking care of each other.
Yeah. Just holding space for it, honestly. And if the conversation prompts you to have it with other people, just, asking. I think one thing that's really interesting to me is asking our friends, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And when we've talked about that before, and just like giving them space. And then, if you as a friend, as part of that conversation can say, I just heard this conversation around being tired, and it really reminded me that we get to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that's a priority. And
I think that can still stay in the realm of small talk. Because I think sometimes people are just like, hey, I'm good. How are you? There's acknowledgement there too. That some people are like, hey, I'm tired. I don't really want to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's not what I mean.
No,
but
I know.
Those girl, if you're sitting around having a conversation with your people.
Absolutely.
And you're like, encouraging each other, building each other up to take care of themselves. I love that.
Me too. Love you guys.
No kidding. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for your time, for listening. We hope that you're already thinking of all the amazing things that you can notice about yourself.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm sending hearts.
Sending love. All kinds of little ways. All right.
Have a great day, you guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye.